Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Well, guys, I love to see it. A nice little bounce right off the support box we were eyeing up on these recent live streams. And those of you in my Telegram got the signal that I was starting to build a long position. We've actually just hit my first target this morning, as always, the 0.5 fib. So what's next for Bitcoin? Honestly, guys, I still have my concerns about the macro trend for this cycle in general. However, as any responsible trader, I'm able to set my feelings aside and take a trade setup when I see one, which is obviously why I took that long off that 786 support, because we've been eyeing that up for such a long time ahead of time. That's why it pays, guys, right? To just basically plan ahead and then stick to those plans, right? So I honestly feel like there's strong cases to be made for both the bulls and the bears at this point. So I want to take a look at a few different time frames to find out where some important levels are at this point for me. So with that, let's take a look at the 4-hour chart, you guys. Yeah, as I just mentioned, I mean, you guys know that I've been in this long, basically took it off the 786, front run it a little bit. I do actually still have some more entries between my 1 and my 115 fib pocket if we happen to get a push down there. I guess we're going to have to see what happens. But yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, just as far as any typical Stuber fib setup, we have hit that first target. So nice to see that, just that well expected bounce, just like how most of my trade setups, how I love to pull Fibonacci's. Basically, this is just a very typical setup, you guys, right? I mean, I've caught most of the major moves recently. Those of you guys who have been here with me, hopefully you guys have been just crushing it as well. Hopefully not just surviving in this market, but actually thriving here. And yeah, guys, this is just nothing that's been happening has been all too crazy, in my opinion. Yeah, it's been nice and volatile, but the market structure in general is actually playing out quite lovely, honestly, if you ask me. And that goes for whether you're a bull or a bear, as long as you're willing to set your emotions aside and just trade setups that are proper setups with proper invalidations and that sort of thing. The market has been performing actually quite beautifully recently. And for those of you who are more so interested in trading, market structure rather than those hopium gut feelings, you just want to see more of my trade strategies, more of my trade setups, how I look at market structure, how I pull fibs and all that sort of stuff, guys. If these moves lately have been blindsiding you, I mean, here's a few examples of calling that short in advance, right? We got into a short position 2 days before that real nasty sell-off last week. And as well, just pointing out that I was looking to long, because whether I was bearish or bullish, we were at a buy level. So that's really all that matters to me, just playing the chart for what it is. So if that is something that interests you at this time, do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code, get in there. But yeah, guys, at this point, I mean, I still think the bulls can push a little bit higher. I'm not saying that I'm bullish on the trend. Quite honestly, I think Bitcoin's in a bit of trouble. But that being said, I'm not opposed to the idea of getting a bounce, just because how I look at market structure on the 5-minute is no different than how I would look at it on the 4-hour like this. And the fact is that, we had a high here, we had a higher high. That means this is our confirmed higher low. And we did actually break that level, right? We broke it, even if it was just a wick. If you want to say candle bodies, okay, these candle bodies were closing below. Even if we've reclaimed it at this point, it's very natural in basic market structure that when you end up breaking structure like that, quite often you get some sort of a reaction rally before that trend actually continues. And that's where you end up seeing people get a lot of FOMO, is when we start getting back up to resistance levels. So at this point, I mean, we've basically had the same setup 3 times in a row so far, both the bullish side of things and the bearish side of things, ever since basically trading in this very large range from back in, where did we start this? Basically the middle of July, you guys. Since that, we've been setting these swing fail rejections that blindside everybody. And then we set another swing fail resistance rejection there and blindside everybody again. Even though it was the same setup, it was just a lot more violent. But even on the bullish side of things, right, guys, is eventually we form some sort of a bullish Stuber fib. We break this little downtrend. For example, back here, we had a low, lower low, lower high. We break that. We come back down to the 786 and we push back to the top of the range, where we get that little swing fail. Back down here, same thing, right? At the bottom of this range, we had a low, lower low, lower high. We break that. We come back to my Stuber fib pocket, push right back to the top of the range. Swing fail rejection. Everybody blindsided on the same setup again. Now we come back down here. Now this time is a little bit different, you guys, is we haven't actually broke that downtrend. Yeah, we got a nice little bounce off of 786 here, but the structure is actually different because we don't actually have a lower high on the 4-hour chart here that I can consider this a valid Stuber, at least on the 4-hour. On the shorter time frames, on the 5-minute, yes, we technically do have a bullish Stuber there. But either way, I'm just kind of treating it as a 786, 886, just a nice support retest. But the downtrend isn't actually broken on the 4-hour or above, because this was not a confirmed lower high. Because after setting this low, actually after setting this low, this being our lower low, since then, this would just be our confirmed high. That's our highest point between the two. So if we're going to remain in a bearish state in this market, basically as long as we're below this high here, it's technically, that's a valid reversal as far as market structure goes. So obviously that can be invalidated, but this is a very bearish signal right here. The fact that we lost that support for me. Basically, yeah, I would expect some sort of a reaction to the upside, but it doesn't mean that we're bullish. And, the same people who have fallen for, buying in, right? Everybody loves to FOMO long into resistance. So a lot of people FOMO'd long here. And those same people were very likely trying to short into support, just like they were trying to long into resistance once again and trying to short into support once again, right? The market loves to do that. People obviously know you're supposed to buy low, sell high. You're supposed to buy support, sell resistance. But at the time, it always looks like it has the opposite effect, right? It always looks like the price is very strong when we get to resistance, and it looks very weak at support. And that's where, even though we know better, it's very hard to actually stick to that plan. And that's why having systematic trade setups, and specifically why I love Fibonacci's, it's very easy to keep a level head, because you just have your entries, your take profits, your invalidations, and from there, all emotions are removed as long as you can stick to your plan. So far, looks not too bad that we're at least getting some sort of a bounce. But like I said, I really don't think we're going to go parabolic from here. I'm very happy to be wrong about that. But yeah, I think it's very possible we at least go for a retest up a little higher in the range, because one, like I said, we never did reach that 214 fib target yet. That would actually be around 112.8K, somewhere in there. But if we're actually looking for the bigger range, the full range resistance, it basically starts around 121K and runs all the way to 130K, basically to invalidate the same type of swing fail setup we've had the last two real big rejections. That same swing fail type of setup basically ranges from 126 to 130K. So I really want to see that 130K level taken out before getting too bullish. But that does not mean that I'm going to be longing into resistance. I'm not longing as soon as we break that level, right? I'm in a long, right? I'm one of those people who buys support, and I'll be looking for hedges short again if we end up getting to those resistance levels. But I still do have one short running either way, because I want to be protected either way. A lot of people, a lot of influencers will pretend they know exactly where the price is going, but any good trader out there will admit to you that they don't know for sure where the price is going. We can take our best educated guess, and we can basically protect ourselves and play the setups that we're comfortable with, that we have back tested as a systematic trade setup, but we don't know for sure what's going to happen. It's more so waiting for certain things to happen and then reacting, right? Predicting goes only so far. It's the reacting part that's very important in the game of trading. So I'm not saying you should be shorting into this level, right? I told so many people I was more so, even though I was bearish, I was looking at building longs and taking profits from shorts rather than shorting into support, because I just don't want to short into support. Just like if we get up here, I won't be building longs up there. But that being said, if we get up to these levels, I will absolutely be checking on the lower time frames, looking for any bearish reason to start looking for taking short positions, because I just really have a gut feeling that the bulls aren't going to be able to push. And if they do, whatever, my spot bags will be so happy. And at that point, I'll start longing dips again. I will play the staircase to the upside if we get it. It's just at this point, and obviously each trade setup's different because I'm still going to be scalping and stuff like that. I also have a scalp on the 5 minute from the other day, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, guys, basically the way I see it, I absolutely think Bitcoin could see a bounce from here, just because even let's look at the liquidity, guys. I've been talking about this for a while, is that we have a lot of liquidity building above us. All these gold bars, these yellow bars above us, that's all high leverage liquidation pockets coming into play. So people who are shorting late into support, they're starting to build those liquidation levels above us. So the market maker may eventually want to go and grab that. That being said, we are starting to actually see some liquidity below us as well, right? Because people are still trying to long this dip. So we are starting to see a little bit, but obviously there's way more liquidity above us. So I would not be surprised to see some sort of a bounce eventually. I just don't know if it's going to stick long term is all, but happy to go either way, right? That's the thing. Protect yourself either way. I would love to go into a parabolic bull run. It's just at this point, as far as trading goes, I'm eyeing up some potential rejections because I don't want to be blindsided. Just like up here, this was a very profitable, basically couple of days. Well, actually more so one day, more a few hours. That was very profitable to the downside. And I never thought it was going to happen that fast, but we were absolutely prepared for it and positioned as so. Just like right now, yeah, I'm not bullish, but I'm willing to take that setup because it's just something that I typically trade, right? Guys, the weekly close is tonight, and I do have very serious concerns about the weekly as well. I mean, obviously, I've been quite vocal about this in my recent streams, is that typically speaking, well, at least the last two cycles, from our bear market bottom to our bull market peak, it's been exactly 152 weeks, and that is where we currently are trading. So on top of that, we have a nasty bearish divergence on the RSI. So basically, we have less buying strength as we're trading sideways here. And on top of that, we are currently forming what looks to me like some sort of a breaker block. The fact that we have our candle closes here and we set higher candle closes here. This was basically the block where the bears tried to make a bit of a stance, but we ended up pushing to the upside, setting higher candle bodies closing instead. And so far, coming back down, we were not able to hold that same block as support. I mean, obviously, there's a couple of hours yet until the weekly candle close, but that's a big concern of mine that we're dropping that. That's very serious structure, in my opinion. And even if we continue our little bounce to the upside, it's very possible that we end up flipping this support into resistance and carrying on a downtrend from there. Happy to be wrong about that, guys. It's just a couple of things, trying to keep a level head, look at the market structure for what it is. I have very big concerns about where Bitcoin is right now. Happy to play the longs, happy to play the bounces, but I have my concerns. Another thing with that is, let's bring up the trend master on the 4 hour. Notice where we're trading right now. So we did lose this higher buy signal, right? This would have been our pivot down here where we had that long position from that Stuber fib on the last upswing. We lost that support, right? With this wick, and now as well with these candle bodies back here. So the fact that we lost that higher buy, that is a big concern to me. And I mean, we don't have a lower sell signal yet. Obviously, we'd need to print a new buy signal and then another lower sell signal. But at this point alone, we are still starting to get to the resistance of that indicator. So that's also something worth mentioning right now, that basically the way I see it, and I am very happy for us to go bullish. It's just that I want to keep a level head right now, because no matter what Bitcoin does, we have so much resistance on so many different levels until our all-time highs, basically. We have indicator resistance where we are right now. We have bullish target number 2 just above us, where we often reverse from there if we get it. And as well, if we then make another push, that would actually be a nice little push if we could go from about 114 to 120K, let's say. That would be a nice little push, but then we have more resistance, right? That's where we start into our Stuber fib resistance pocket, and just above that is a swing fail target. So, or swing fail resistance pocket, basically. So unfortunately, just the way market structure is right now, it's not that it can't be invalidated. It's just that there isn't bullish structure for me right now as far as the macro timeframes go. As far as the short term, yeah, you know what? We're looking fantastic. I had warned in my Telegram about we even got a higher buy signal on the 5-minute earlier this weekend. And I was warning that, hey, that's actually the first sign of strength that I've seen in this market for quite a while, since we were above 110K basically. And although we just kind of chopped around sideways on low volume, on weekend trading volume, basically, we never did lose my swing fail pocket of that setup from there, right? We got our higher buy signal, pulling a fib from there and just kind of chasing the price. We came right back down to that 115, but we never broke it. And then we continued to the upside. And now we actually have a nice push as we're getting closer to that weekly candle close. So on the lower time frames, that's what, again, why I say I still think that we could push a little bit higher. How I feel on the lower time frames and how I feel on the macro time frames are just very different right now. But as it stands right now, even though we have a sell right now, notice that we're trying to push right through it. We're basically, to me, it looks like we're going to print a new higher buy signal on the 5-minute, basically any candle now. And if that happens, that is going to confirm a new higher low for me on this trend, where I'll be able to bump up the stop loss on my scalp position basically to just a little bit below that. Again, I'll be looking for fibs for a little bit of wiggle room basically. But yeah, if we print that new signal, that's just another sign to me that, yeah, the 5-minute trend would at least still be strong at that point. So I hope to see that. Guys, let me know in the chat how you're all feeling about the market as well, guys. If you do appreciate these level-headed just crypto live streams and just, not hopium, not clickbait, just really trying to be the voice of reason in these crazy times in the market, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Love to see so many familiar faces, you guys. So thank you so much for continuing to join these live streams. Love doing them with you guys. Love seeing that you guys keep coming back. That obviously means you appreciate what I have to say, and I appreciate every one of you guys being here with me. So thumbs up for you guys as well. What is the leverage multiplier on BTC perp, like on the chart I'm on right now? I'm not sure what I follow. You can set your leverage to whatever you want. Adrian, how are we feeling today? Long term, the macro trend, I'm feeling bearish. The short term, I still think it's possible we push higher. Oh, look at that. There, we just got that higher buy signal, by the way, you guys. So basically, as long as we can stay above, I want to give it a little wiggle room, but let's say we can stay above 108.3K. We still have a 5-minute uptrend on this indicator. If we lose that, then I would lose faith in the 5-minute trend and assume that, we could be going down for a further tumble. I might add another scalp on this guy. So just give me a sec here, guys. Sideways chopped through the end of the year. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. We just keep getting those real big volatile swings, really screwing with retail's emotions. Don't feel like you want to take a long or a short. Honestly, at this point, I totally get what you're saying, is that I also don't think it's necessarily a good level to be looking at swing positions as far as taking new positions at this point. Because, right, the swing level was down at the retest of support, basically, right? Where I was taking the long at the 786. That was based on 4-hour structure. So that was more of a swing position. Right now, we are right at, well, the fact that we're at the 0.5 fib, we're right in the middle of a range, right? So at this point, it's a little risky looking for a swing position. But as far as those scalp positions, I like to get into those and then hope that, taking profits along the way, because playing it for the time frame that it is. If I'm trading the 5-minute, I'm not expecting it to run for days. But if I can take some partial profits, I'm going to start laddering into a position from here, basically down to 108.3. And if it gets stopped out, whatever, I still have a couple other long positions on the go and that short position on the go. But yeah, I'm still willing to take those scalp positions, take profits along the way, and then basically hope a chunk of the position runs, because I like to let the runners run, but I'm also not married to the idea of just hitting home runs every trade, because if you're hoping it, basically the market loves to chop around sideways a lot more than it likes to break out in one direction. So I like to play the range first and hope for a runner with the rest, basically. So I got some orders set. We'll see what happens with that. Hello, higher buy signal. Thank you for joining the live stream. Yeah, exactly. Love to see it. But again, guys, I mean, I am going to cut that. I'm just building another little scalp here. And if it does break below 108.3, I'm just going to cut my losses on that and just say, you know what, it's just not looking that promising right now. I would lose faith in that 5 min basically. So I would just cut my losses on that. No, the leverage isn't fixed. So I just, yeah, it's just the perpetual price. And then from there, you can just choose what leverage you want. But yeah, anyways, my friends, I think that's actually about all I wanted to go over today. I just wanted to give that little bit of a warning before the weekly close that, you know, I see reasons for both scenarios. Just please be careful out there. You know, I think the bulls can push a little bit higher. Just if we start going higher into this range, especially when we start getting towards all-time highs again, please just do what you can to protect yourself. Try to set your emotions aside and just, you know, try to keep a level head when we start approaching resistance, because that's when social media gets insane. Everybody gets extreme FOMO as we're trading resistance, and that's why people always end up longing into resistance and getting wrecked. One thing that I do like to see, you guys, before I go here actually, is just taking a look at the long short ratio. So currently we have retail long sitting at about 68%. So retail is still quite long heavy. However, that being said, we are starting to see shorts starting to come into the market, basically. So you'll notice I have this vertical line here. So this is where we were basically trading at my 786, right? We were getting candle bodies. We were actually testing the 786 on that candle. I want to show you what happened with the retail shorts. This is just kind of funny. I know I always say that, you know, you start to see these Stubers everywhere once you really see them. If you really zoom into the retail shorts indicator, you can see that the shorts ended up setting a higher low level here right at the 786, getting a little mini Stuber on this indicator. And that's so far where we got a bounce, right? Because retail started shorting into support. So as long as the retail shorts continue to climb and the longs begin to drop off, basically continue dropping to the downside, that would be some nice rocket fuel for the bulls to be able to push higher. Basically, the market makers would push us higher and wreck retail again. However, if retail remains long heavy, that's where we could get some sort of a long squeeze where we actually end up pushing through that support and getting wrecked, right? So, but as it stands right now, it looks like retail is about to start opening more shorts here. So I'm, you know, if we see that, then I think we can get that bounce and start getting towards some of that liquidity that I was talking about on the 4 hour and that sort of thing. So just a couple of things to watch for there, you guys. So again, think that's about all I'm going to go over. Just a quick one. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If so, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss these live streams. And as I mentioned, you guys, if you are interested, you want to see more of my personal trade strategies, just more examples, how I pull fibs, how I look at market structure, my overall thoughts on the markets, do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.